So you're walking along the street somewhere in Ontario and two policers come up to you and grab your arm and say, "You're under arrest, come with me." And they take you off to the police station as if it's a communist country or something with no reasons. Can they do that? So that's a very important question. Can Canadian police arrest you without telling you the reasons? Very important question. And the short answer to that is no. They must tell you the reasons for your arrest, and there's various reasons for that as well. This falls under our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Under Section 10A of the Charter, that's 10A, upon arrest or detention, when you've been detained by the police, they must advise you promptly of the reasons for arrest. So what does that mean? Do they have to tell you about the specific section number of the criminal code? No. They can tell you in what's called common parlance, common language, that, look, you're being arrested because you attacked this person. They don't even necessarily have to say assault, but they will. For example, you're being arrested for impaired driving. We're bringing you to the police station. Here's your breath demand. They do have to tell you those reasons, and they have to tell you relatively promptly. And what does promptly mean? It means as quickly as possible, immediately, given the situation you're in. Obviously, if the police arrest you and you start struggling and fighting and it's not safe and they don't tell you for 20 minutes because they have to battle you and then handcuff you and get in the back of the car, that's still promptly, because they're not expected to be shouting reasons for arrest as you're physically attacked. But in most situations, what the police will do, let's take an impaired driving case, you're swerving on the roadway, they stop you, you've got an odor of alcohol. Let's say they decide to give you a screening test. You fail the screening test. At that point, they're going to tell you, look, you're under arrest for, we're under investigation, under arrest for blowing over the legal limit. We're going to make a breath demand now. They're going to read the breath demand and come back to the station. So why do they have to tell you the reasons for arrest? Well, that allows you to know the jeopardy you're in, to be able to submit the arrest. You've got full facts. Now you can speak to a lawyer because they're going to give you right to counsel. You can explain to the lawyer why you're under arrest. The lawyer can then give you proper legal advice. And then you can make a decision about how important it is, for example, to exercise your right to counsel, because you know the jeopardy you're facing. The jeopardy there is impaired driving. Now, let's say your jeopardy changes in this situation. Like, for example, let's just say you were in a traffic accident and the person dies and the police find out about that. They should then tell you that it's impaired now, causing death investigation, and you're allowed to relay that to a lawyer. So it's important to know the jeopardy you're in. Another situation, let's go back to the sidewalk situation where they arrested you. So let's say now they do tell you, for example, you're in a bar fight. Look, we're arresting you because you just hurt someone in a bar fight. You're going to be charged with assault causing bodily harm. Now you know the reasons for your arrest. You go off with the police. They give you rights to counsel. You speak to a lawyer. The lawyer can give you proper legal advice. You know what you're facing, okay? So let's say in either of those situations, the police never tell you the reason for arrest, and I've seen that happen where they forget, believe it or not, or they don't do it. What happens there is they breached your Section 10A charter right. They haven't told you promptly, so you're talking to a lawyer without proper knowledge of what's going on. Conceivably, in that situation, then, what you may be able to do, what your lawyer may be able to do, is any evidence gathered after the point of your arrest, from that point on at the police station, for example, breath samples or a confession you made or things like that, could potentially be thrown out under Section 24(2) of the Charter. So it is a charter violation. It's an important right. We live in a free and democratic society. It's not communism. They don't just hustle you off the streets for no reason, hopefully. And you need to know the reasons for your arrest in common language, common parlance, as they say it. And then you're able to exercise your right to counsel and your right to silence in a meaningful way, knowing the jeopardy you're in. And then as the case escalates at the police station, like let's say your jeopardy changes, as I mentioned to you, a death occurs or they find out someone is more seriously hurt, they should promptly inform you of that as well. But it has to be done safely for the police. They'll do it promptly. Police officers typically don't forget to do this, but I have been involved in cases where they didn't explain it properly, they didn't explain the jeopardy. And sometimes when jeopardy changes, then you can win a case because, for example, on a right, you didn't get proper rights to counsel because the lawyer didn't know the jeopardy was a death in an impaired driving case, and potentially you get the breath samples thrown out, just as an example. So it's an important right. Sometimes these rights coalesce and overlap with each other, where you might have a Section 10A charter violation coupled with a rights to counsel violation, where you're not getting proper legal advice due to not being informed of things properly. So there you have it. This is a very important right for Canadians. We live in, as I mentioned, a free and democratic society, and you're going to be told, hopefully promptly, reasons for your arrest in common language by the police. And that's a right that we enjoy in our society. Thank you for watching our video. We are absolutely committed to bringing you the best possible criminal and DUI educational videos. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you've been charged with a criminal offense in Ontario and require our services, please click on the link in the description below.